Today we will continue our chapter number 2, Origin of the Earth. In the last lecture, we discussed about the two theories given by, first was given by Kant and second was given by Laplace. These two theories are considered as the basic theories about the origin of the Earth. Okay, because initially Kant tried to explain how the Earth originated, and this provide the base of the further experiments, further theories, right? But there are some similarities and some differences between the Kant and Laplace. What are these? It will have to recap the all the two theories. Similarities: first, both the theories are agreed that the original mass was made up of gas. No doubt, Kant uh, told it. Kant assumed that this mass was cold and Laplace, hot, and Laplace assumed it cold. So, but both were agreed that the original mass was made up of gas also. Second, both believed that the gaseous mass began to contract and it increased the angular velocity, right? So the rotational speed got increased due to the law of conservation of angular momentum. If the object will be small, its speed will be increased. This is the law of conservation of angular momentum, right? So both were agreed on this law. Fourth similarity between the two is angular momentum. First is, what is the angular momentum? It is the product of the mass, mass, angular velocity, and the square of the radius of the rotating body. Right? When we multiply all the threes, mass, angular velocity, and square of the radius, we get the angular momentum. Now, what happened if the radius of rotating body reduced? It the corresponding increase in angular velocity, because if one thing is decreasing, the second will increase, right? So the because according to the law, the sum total of angular momentum in a rotating body remains the same. It never decrease or increase. According to this, if one thing is decreasing, the other will be increasing, right? So decrease in temperature, it leads to decrease in radius. Decrease in radius leads to increase in angular velocity, and due to the increase in angular velocity, the speed of the rotating body will be increased, and all these were described by the Kant and Laplace. Both were agreed on this law of momentum, angular momentum. Still, there are some differences between the two theories. First, Kant explained that the Earth was formed with small and cold particles, while Laplace uh, argued that the Earth was formed with hot and gaseous particle. There is hot. By mistake, it is all. Second, Kant called it primordial matter, and Laplace called it nebula. The initial matter which was present in the universe, the Kant gave in the name to it primordial, while Laplace called it nebula. Third, Kant arguments are based upon gravitational force. He said that due to the gravitational force, this primordial matter began to contract, right? While the Laplace arguments were based on the angular momentum, because due to the when the nebula began to cold, its radius began to reduce and it increased the angular velocity. This was given by the Kant. So Kant is theories was based on gravitational force, while Laplace theory was based on angular momentum. right? While Laplace theory explained only the evolution of the solar system, but Kant's was all embarrassing, right? So it was a theory of the evolution of the universe, right? So Laplace tried to explain about the evolution of the solar system, while Kant explained about the evolution of the universe. These are the two theories. Now coming to the next theory, that is planetesimal hypothesis. Planetesimal hypothesis was given by Chamberlain and Moulton in 1900, right? Here he used the name protosun as the Kant used primordial, Laplace used uh, nebula, and Chamberlain and Moulton used protosun, right? Initial matter was called protosun by Chamberlain and Moulton, right? So it is a interesting concept about this theory. He said the sun was cold gas mass. The sun was cold gas mass. The sun, which he called it protosun, right? Now what happened? As a Kant failed to explain from where this gravitational force come. Now Chamberlain said that a wandering star came to the near to the sun. Here in the picture you can see this star. Okay, a wandering star came near to the sun. Now this star was bigger than the sun, so it imposed some attraction force on the sun, because it was bigger, many times bigger than the sun, so it imposed some attraction force on the sun. Now what was the consequences of this force? There was, due to this attraction force, some matter was attracted towards the star, and there was a bulge in the protosun, right? So slowly this mass, this bulge was ejected from the protosun. Here you can see it was ejected from the protosun, and this ejected mass was called planetesimal, right? The bulge which separated from the protosun, that ejected mass was called planetesimal by Chamberlain and Moulton. Now what happened? The star was going on its path. It was moving, and gradually it passes away from the sun. Now it passes away, when it passes away from the sun, this bulge got separated and began to revolve around the sun in the direction of star. In which direction the star was moving, this bulge also, this planetesimal also began to revolve in the same direction around the protosun, and these bulge converted into big size, and these big size planetesimals are called planets at a later stage, right? Now repeat it again. I'm repeating it again. First, the Chamberlain and Moulton called the sun as a protosun. Initial matter was called protosun by Chamberlain and Moulton. It was cold gas mass. A wandering star approaches to the sun. Due to the attraction of the star, a bulge appears in the protosun. Slowly and gradually, as the star approaches to the sun, nearer to the sun, this bulge separated from the protosun, and in the next stage this have some planetesimals. This ejected mass was called planetesimals. Slowly and gradually, these planetesimals contract with each other and grows into big size. And these big size are called planets, right? So basically, here they used condensed. The matter was condensed. Remember these points, right? Now, what is the difference between the planetesimal and nebular hypothesis? In the nebular hypothesis, sun was hot and emitting radiation, while in the planetesimal hypothesis, it was cold and it was contracting. According to the nebular hypothesis, there was a ring formation outer which the planets were formed, while in the planetesimal hypothesis, small planetesimal come close to each other and aggregated to form the planets. वो इकट्ठा हो गए और planets form किया उन्होंने. Third, nebular hypothesis explained the formation of planets at different times. Right, that planets were not formed at the same time. They are formed at different times according to the nebular hypothesis, while according to the planetesimal hypothesis they were formed at the same time. Right, so these are the differences between planetesimal and nebular hypothesis. Now the next hypothesis is tidal hypothesis. Tidal hypothesis was given by Sir James Jeans. He was a British scientist and it was given in 1919. Right, later on in 1929, a scholar, Harold Jeffreys, suggested some modification in this hypothesis. Right, firstly, tidal hypothesis was given by Sir James Jeans in 1919. Further in 1929, a scholar, Harold Jeffreys, suggested some modification in this hypothesis. This hypothesis consists two concepts. First, they assume sun is hot and the wandering star. There was a wandering star present there and the initial sun was hot. Second, they also taken the gravitational law of Newton. Right, so this theory is based upon the wandering star concept and the gravitational force. Right, so what was the theory? They explained the sun was a hot and gaseous mass in the beginning. Look at the picture. What happened? In the first stage, red mark, this was the initial sun. It was very hot and it was very gaseous. One star approaching to the sun. Right? This star was very much bigger than the sun and several times larger than the sun. It enclosed to it. Now what happened? Because due to the higher gravitational force of the star, it attract a small part from the sun. It is called a bulge. This is sun and some part pull out from the sun in the form of bulge due to the gravitational force of the star. Now what happened? As the star was approaching to its path, this bulge got separated from the sun. In the third stage, you can see this one, right? The star was going on and this bulge got separated from the sun, but it was in the cigar shape. The shape of this bulge was cigar. Now what happened? Star moved away and this cigar shaped bulge break down into 8 parts. this was broken down into 8 parts. Now, what was new in this concept? This bulge was in the cigar shape. That's why in the middle it has large surface, and at the top, at the sides, it was narrow, right? In the middle it was broad, and in the sides it was narrow. Similarly, our planets are formed in this form. Initially, planets which we called it inner planets. Inner planets are small in size. These inner planets are small in size. Thus, Jupiter is bigger in size, which lies in the middle of the cigar. After that, all the mass of the radius of the planets also reduces as we go to the side of the cigar, right? So it formed like this. Our planets were formed, right? So what was the basic theory? That there was a sun which was very hot and gaseous. A wandering star approaches to the sun, which was many times bigger than the sun. It pulls its gravitational force on the sun. Due to the gravitational force, a bulge came out from the sun, and it was in the cigar shape. It already broken into 8 parts, and these 8 parts were not in same size, because this bulge have more this bulge was broad in the center and smallest at the corners. That's why our planets are not in same size. The starting planets, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, these are the smaller in size. Jupiter is larger in size because it lies in the center of the bulge. And after that, the two planets, Saturn and Neptune, they are also in smaller size, right? Now, what are the merits of this theory? He tried to explain how the uh, different size of planets were formed, right? Due to the cigar shape of the bulge. Second, he also explained why they are revolving around the sun in the same direction, because they are also revolving in the same in the direction in which the star was revolving, right? He also tried to explain why there is difference between the distance of different planets from the sun. He also tried to explain that why the outer and inner planets are formed at different materials. So there are some basic criticism of this theory also. There was a huge difference between the solar sun and the star. Then some scholars were confused, and how could this star exert gravitational force, so much gravitational force on the sun? So the distribution of angular velocity and mass momentum could not be explained by the Champlain and Moulton. Now, what are the differences between tidal hypothesis and planetesimal hypothesis? In tidal hypothesis, he talked about hot sun, while in planetesimal hypothesis, the sun was cold. In tidal hypothesis, he explained that planets were formed through a cigar-shaped, and in planetesimal hypothesis, the planets were formed due to the aggregation. In tidal hypothesis, the planets were formed at different stages, while in planetesimal hypothesis, they were formed at the same time. In tidal hypothesis, he believed in the gravitational force, while in planetesimal hypothesis, they were talked about the attraction force of the wandering star. In tidal hypothesis, they tried to explain why the planets were formed in different sizes. But in planetesimal hypothesis, he was failed to explain this. right? In tidal hypothesis, he explained that the matter cooled it either be solid or liquid form. The matter which was cooled down, it can be either in liquid or solid form. The matter which cooled down, it got solid form and formed the planets, while the matter which couldn't be cooled down remained in gaseous form. That's why inner planets are in solid form and the outer planets are in gaseous form. While in planetesimal hypothesis, he couldn't explain the evolution of the atmosphere. Right? The last earliest theory is interstellar dust hypothesis, and it was given by Otto Suchmuth of Russia and Karl Witschger of Germany in 1950. They revised the nebular hypothesis in their own way. According to Otto Suchmuth, the large quantities of gases and dust particles scattered in the universe. Here in the picture, you can see the first stage. There are gases and dust particles in the universe. They were scattered in the universe. Slowly and gradually, they began to collide with each other. Right? You can see the black portions. They come close to each other and begin to collide it. Due to the friction, they took a disc shape. This one. They took a disc shape and began to, because they were floating in the universe, they took a disc shape and they were revolving. After a long time, these collision aggregate the particles and they turned into bigger objects that are called planets, because each and dust particle have their own attraction force. They attract the other and big and grows into bigger size, and these bigger size are known as the planets. So what was the theory? According to Otto Suchmuth, the large quantities of gases and dust particles scattered in the new universe, while according to Carl Weizsäcker, cosmic dust forming the sun. These dust and particles collided with each other, and due to the friction, they took a disc-shaped cloud. Then they turned into bigger object called planets. Thus, the planets were formed through the process of accretion. Right? This is a interstellar hypothesis given by Carl Weizsäcker and Otto Suchmuth. So today we have completed our earlier theories. In the next lecture, we will discuss the modern theories. Right? Now, if you have any doubt, you can raise your hand, switch on your video. Dinesh sir, stop recording.